Welcome to the UCLA Anderson Drive Time podcast. My name is Dylan Stafford. I'm an assistant dean here at UCLA and your host. And today I have the honor of interviewing James Feng, this handsome man next to me. James is a member of the class of 2021. He is one of the 6 nominated members of his class for our Spotlight series. We surveyed the class of 2021 and we asked, hey, we unfortunately can't interview everyone. We have about 6 spaces. Whose story would you, as a member of the class of 21, like the world to hear? And James is one of the 6. He's chronologically the last person that we're interviewing. So I have the benefit of having heard the other 5 stories. And in the last 12 days that we've conducted these, I'm just really impressed with your class, James, and can't wait to hear your story. And thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Dylan. Super excited as well, and super excited that I was nominated by my class.
Let me tell people a little bit about you, just as a headline. Brand new, ink is still wet on the contract. You signed your contract for your post-MBA gig with Flatiron Health as a senior product manager last Friday. So congratulations on switching into something new. You're also going to get to hear James was super active as a student leader in FEMBA Council. He was a member of Section 2, the all-day Saturday section. He did the business creation option. He's from the East Coast originally, went to Syracuse, was an environmental engineer in undergrad, and came out to Los Angeles, had his adventure, and now he's going to go back to the East Coast. And last thing I say before we start to introduce you or let you talk is he was also nominated by his class and the committee to be the commencement speaker. So he will be the last voice the class of 2021 hears before they walk into the world with their diplomas as alumni. We're recording this, 3 weeks before commencement? It's almost here. Okay, so this is who you get to hear today, James Feng. So James, and I just want to say personally, I've gotten a chance to work with you a couple times with your help with FEMBAssadors and your leadership on FEMBA Council and the FEMBA 45s that we did last summer to welcome the class of 2023. So this is fun for me personally because I've just enjoyed your contributions and your spirit and all the stuff you did at the outset of COVID to build some community in the brand new COVID reality a year ago. So so this is just fun. So again, thank you, James.
Yeah, excited to be here again. So thank you as well. And I know all the work that you and your team do. So happy to help out.
Well, Samantha and Darcy and Drew and Raymond, we are a little team and we love to record these stories. If we can share success, then everybody wins, and you've had a lot to share. So why don't we start with kind of tell us about who you were, where you grew up, your family, and who you were before making the decision to come to business school. What's your background?
Yeah, absolutely. So born and raised in New York City to immigrant parents, and they moved here and probably around the age of 28. And it's kind of crazy to hear because I started my MBA at the age of 28. And it's crazy to kind of see how from one generation of where my parents immigrated to this country to sort of where I am when I started my MBA, all the credit to them. And I'm sure that they had all the different challenges kind of raising me, but I made it to this sort of point in my career. But grew up in New York City, went to undergrad at Syracuse University, go Orange, and studied environmental engineering. I thought, growing up, I was always good at math and science, and you kind of put the two together and you're like, I'm going to go engineering. And, somewhere along the lines of, working in a laboratory for a summer, I wanted to go corporate and decided to go into a career in management consulting, and did that for about a couple of years and decided it was time to get an MBA. I'm happy to kind of share more as the conversation goes along, but super excited to be here. I definitely had a great time at Anderson and happy to kind of share some of those stories and the successes that came along with it.
And where did your parents immigrate from?
Sure, they immigrated from southern China in a province called Guangzhou. So they came here on my dad's side with his siblings. They came here, did the typical, I guess, Chinese immigrant job, worked in the restaurants, worked in the fabric industry, and save what they could. I have an older brother, a younger sister, and we had a small place, the 5 of us. And we grew up as a tight-knit family. I was a middle child, so I was the de facto troublemaker. I was always always loud and energetic and outspoken, and always got in trouble for it. But I guess in consulting, you kind of have to be that way. So I guess I used some of that to make a career. But yeah, humble beginnings in Queens, New York.
Queens. Okay, yeah, because that's the right question. You say which borough, right? Is that how you do it in New York? Okay, because you got 5 choices. Is that right? I'm from Texas.
Five,
It's like,
well, 5 choices, but Staten Island is we tend to no one really goes there. You have to pay a toll to go across the bridge and everything. It's
okay. All right. All right. My wife is from New Jersey, so I hear about it from the New Jersey side of the equation, which is a whole other divide in the Northeast cultural landscape.
I do want to take this time to give a shout out to my New York Knickerbockers. First time in the playoffs in 8 years. We didn't win game 1. Tonight's game 2, and hopefully we go far this year. But we're only going up from here, so super excited. Definitely want to give a shout out to the Knicks.
Well, you're leaving LA. I hope you're not taking any championship mojo with you. You're supposed to take your talent back east, but leave the championship mojo here in LA, please.
Yeah, no guarantees. I think my Yankees are due for a championship. My Knicks are definitely due for a championship. The Giants, we're okay. We're okay. getting better, I guess. But we're due. Hopefully, I don't know. We'll see.
That's great. Well, and the middle child energy, yeah. Middle child energy is awesome. Yeah, just because you got, they notice the first one a lot because they're figuring it out, and then the little one gets all the attention. Yes, so the middle, you gotta get in there and claim some attention. I like that. Okay, so and you kind of said it quickly, but when you said a couple years in management consulting, you were with Accenture for like 8 years, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was at Accenture for 8 years. I was there for 6 years in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last 2 years I spent in Los Angeles while I was in the program. And I actually had to look up this statistic because I was living in Los Angeles, but my clients were still on the East Coast. And so I was still traveling sort of coast to coast while I was still in the program. And I looked up this statistic. My first year as a FEMBA student, I flew for work, give me a second, 128,235 miles. As a FEMBA student, my first year. So would fly out on Sundays, come back on a Thursday, spend Friday working, doing homework, all day Saturday classes, do your standard happy hour, jump back on a plane. That's sort of how I spent my first year. A lot of time in the air, but it was absolutely worth it.
And I believe you're the only summer spotlight who was in the all-day Saturday section, which is kind of interesting to me. Everybody else has been either hybrid or the Tuesday, Thursday, because all-day Saturday, that was the original FEMBA schedule back, back in 1988 when we began. And it's always been an anchor schedule. So I'm glad we get to hear a little representation from all-day Saturday. So, how did you, well, before we get into your first year, so just leading up to FEMBA, when did, I mean, if you're in management consulting, I guess an MBA is sort of, people have the degree, people talk about the degree, but was it a mentor? Was it something you always knew you were going to do? When did I think it might be time, how did that calculus happen for you to know grad school was next?
Yeah, I think it was a variety of things. I think one was the fact that I was an engineer. I never really sort of picked up on some of those foundational level business acumen sort of skill sets, right? Whether it be finance and accounting. And then there was a couple of times in my career, I remember, being in consulting, a lot of people go into business school to kind of transition into consulting.
Right.
But I feel like because I went from engineer to consulting, I remember there were a couple of times where we would have town halls, whether it be internally or at the client side. And we would go through like the standard town hall stuff, go through like how the company's doing. They will share all these different metrics. And I just remember for many years, I just like sit through these town halls and like, what the hell are they talking about? Like, what do some of these numbers mean? Like, is the company doing well? Obviously during the town hall, they're going to say the company's doing well, but like, how do you actually, through your own sort of personal opinion, make a judgment? Hey, is my company doing well? Are the clients doing well? And I just remember like I didn't have any of those skill sets. And one, it was important for me to go ahead and get those skill sets, and getting an MBA was something I wanted to do. And I knew getting one would sort of help me learn about some of these things. So now when I sit through town halls and, the CEO is like, yeah, this quarter we did X, Y, and Z, and this is what our plans are, I could kind of formulate my own opinions and say, okay, we're going in the right direction, right? And the other piece of it was I felt a little stagnant just being consulting, being in New York, and I knew I wanted to change, right? I knew I wanted to expand my network, and I knew I wanted to get out of New York for a little bit. And so that was a lot of the reasons why I sort of went this route. And I've obviously had conversations with colleagues that got MBAs, some mentors at Accenture that got MBAs, and they all had, very great things to say. And, that ultimately sort of made my decision easy to kind of go back to school and go through this amazing 3-year program at UCLA. So.
Well, and you were in a high travel mode, so you sort of had, I mean, you had your pick. You had a kind of a nationwide choice group. What was it that attracted you to UCLA?
There was a couple things. One, going back to Syracuse, I kind of look at some of the things I love the most about Syracuse, and it was the culture of the school. And I think a lot that has to do with the culture of the school is the sports program. And so I know one of the checklist items that I had for sort of, as I was looking at schools, obviously it had to be a good school, one that I would believe that I would get a world-class education, have phenomenal classmates, and obviously UCLA, easily checks that box off. And then the other piece is the history of sports. I'm a big basketball junkie, so obviously know the history of John Wooden, right? I know the rivalry between UCLA and USU when it comes to football. Basketball's not really a rivalry, 100% dominated by the Bruins. But I wanted to be a part of that sort of culture of sports and pride, and being able to just rock my UCLA outfit, knowing that it comes from a winning culture, not just from academics, but from sports and many other different facets as well. And so when I was looking at schools, those were some of the things that I was looking for, and UCLA was definitely the one that checked off a lot of the boxes. And obviously Los Angeles, right? Just again, a very winning culture, as we talked about earlier, with the Lakers, the Dodgers, hopefully the Rams soon, and the up and coming sort of soccer teams as well. So just a city that I wanted to kind of be a part of, and all that put together, you have me here.
Well, I love it. I love it. Oh, and when you mentioned soccer, yeah. So a future podcast, we've got to get Julie Ehrman on. She's, a FEMBA alum from like 10, 15 years ago, and she's one of the founders of the women's team.
Super exciting.
Yeah, I just keep watching the LinkedIn posts. They're getting the groundswell. It's really cool watching a brand get built, and the enthusiasm and the social capital that she's bringing to bear. Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. So now let's get into FEMBA. So, wow, 128,000 miles flown your first year. Now, how did you set your, I mean, there's 168 hours in a week. Nobody gets an extra hour. We all have to divide and conquer those 168 hours and maintain our health, our enthusiasm, our pre-FEMBA friendships, but we also have to carve out 20 plus hours a week just for the academic component. And then you were, heavy into extracurriculars. So, coming back to school after 6, 7, 8 years out, high travel lifestyle, what was your mindset walking in the door? What was James saying to James that summer?
You're crazy. But
are you a glutton for punishment, James?
But I think I think I was mentally prepared, and I say this because when you start your MBA sort of process, right? You're studying for your GMATs, you're doing this application process, and so you're already sort of used to adding that sort of extracurricular work on top of what you're doing. And so you've already sort of grinded those hours in pre-MBA, at least, the couple months leading up to your MBA, where whether you're at a coffee shop studying for the GMAT or the GRE, writing essay, editing, talking to people, and learning more about the program, all those extracurricular activities, that process started before the MBA. So you knew that you could kind of push your limits and really put in that level of work. And so now when you start an MBA, that level of commitment, that level of how we got here doesn't change much. I mean, obviously there's much more rigor with the academics and networking and all that stuff, but I think the work ethic was already put in and front loaded when you're applying to an MBA, because it's not easy getting into school, right? So that effort was already put up And then there is just kind of just transitioning over. And, you know, when I say I traveled 128,000 miles, it's not necessarily to kind of brag and say I'm different from other people and I work hard. I think a lot of it has to do with my group mates, right? And I think a lot of times when you join UCLA, a lot of the things that you're going to find yourself doing, and you're going to be working in teams, and everyone's going to be busy, and it's just figuring out how do you balance your time and having strong group mates that understands, like, I have this crazy travel schedule. And it's not just me. Everyone in the program is busy with something, whether it's a marriage or about to buy a new house, I'm busy with this. It really is having these amazing group mates that really supported me through that travel schedule. Whenever they're busy, I'm able to kind of support them, and just having this sort of work and collaborative culture that allows you to be able to make these sacrifices and grind hard and have these crazy schedules, and you just make it work. So.
Well, I think we have some pictures, right? Should we, now that we're kind of moving into the during FEMBA, and we didn't see your parents yet, we got to see that.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Let me pull up some pictures, or a lot of pictures.
Pictures worth 1,000 words. I love it. That's why we're on YouTube, because we can do this.
So these are my parents. This is their first time at UCLA, and I actually have a pretty crazy, like, UCLA story of how I got accepted. I'm happy to quickly get into that while my parents are sort of, actually, let me share that story, and I'll pull the slides back up. So okay. I actually decided to apply to UCLA on the later end, and I was accepted in the later rounds, and I didn't accept right away. I flew to Palooza, didn't have any family or friends in Los Angeles, didn't know anybody. And I didn't accept my offer. So Palooza was actually my very first day in Los Angeles ever. Nice. And so I land, I go to, it was like a hotel close to the campus. It was like one of those like pod share hotels. It was close to campus. I go to Palooza, and I just blown away. The people that I met, the people that I was able to talk to, you know, conversations that you have, a happy hour. I remember getting back to my pod share. My parents didn't even know I was in Los Angeles at that time. Oh, wow. And I accepted the offer that night that I got back to my hotel. Aww. And I put in my deposit, and that was my very first day in Los Angeles. I called my parents up that same night and said, hey, I'm moving to Los Angeles. I need you guys to fly out here. So my whole family flew out the following weekend, and that's pulling up the slide. That's sort of where we took the picture, and we went to the UCLA store. We bought the Bruin mom, Bruin dad shirt, and for us as a family, it was our whole sort of first time in Los Angeles as well. And so that was sort of my experience being in Los Angeles for the first time. But this is done on campus. But yeah, crazy how everything sort of just turns out.
That's a beautiful story. And, you know, I think the health reality, I don't think we can do in-person Palooza this summer of 21. We were talking about this on FEMBA Council meeting on Saturday with Sarah Anderson and the new team, the new leaders stepping up into your big footsteps. But, you know, I think we'll for sure be able to bring it back for 22. But for those of you listening, FEMBA Palooza is a pretty cool 1,500 person midsummer soiree that we like to throw. That is so amazing. That was your first experience. Yeah, every day's like that.
Yeah, yeah, I remember Los Angeles. Okay, 5-lane highways. It was like midday too. I was like, everyone talks about the traffic in Los Angeles. I'm like, it was like 2 o'clock. What traffic, right? And then you slowly realize like the traffic hits. But yeah, it was, you know, you step on campus and you already kind of feel this, like, I don't know what it is about the air, or it's a gorgeous campus. And I just remember falling in love with it as soon as I stepped foot on campus. And the decision was easy. Probably one of the easiest decisions of my life. So I'm glad I got on that plane, booked that flight, and landed in Los Angeles.
Well, so are we. And who knew what kind of relationship was going to evolve from that? And how about your parents? So first time to LA, like what's their, you know, did they know about UCLA? Was it a known school, or was it new to them?
They do know UCLA. I think it helps because my brother, who's getting engaged in a couple months, he's engaged with the Bruin. And so, you know, she had obviously great things to say about UCLA. And so my parents were super excited that, you know, I got accepted and wanted to kind of pursue school further. Obviously, again, you know, I'm first generation, right? So to them, the concept of business school is foreign. and going back to school and all that stuff is foreign to them. And so, it had to kind of explain to them like, okay, this is what I want to do, why I'm going to go and get it. And from there, super supportive, obviously, but, very foreign to them. I believe, their level of education stopped at high school, and they worked in China, and they moved out here. And so never really got to sort of the secondary school of undergrad or even grad school level. So.
Well, and I'm sure they've got to just be buttons bursting when you graduate from Syracuse, and then, you just hit the ground running. So, I mean, I've had conversations with people in the summers before where parents were like, you're doing so well, why would you want to slow down? Like, graduate school can look like a slowdown or just an extra that's not needed when a person has really had a great first decade, sort of post or almost first decade. So that's interesting. So for them, it was like, oh gosh, what adventure is he off to now, I guess? Something, or
Yeah, absolutely.
And they've got a future daughter-in-law whispering, hey, it's a good place. It's a good place.
It's a good place there. Exactly. But yeah, that's kind of how I got here. And see what else I got here. Oh, so year one of FEMBA, I knew one of the definitely one of the things I wanted to do, very, very much in alignment with what I did in undergrad, a lot of being active in student organizations. And so one of the first things I knew I wanted to do was sort of run for social rep for our sections. And so each section as a first year, you have an external rep that really focuses on professional development. You have an internal rep who really sort of keeps the section organized. And then you have a social rep who sort of, in a way, builds the fun for the class, right? Whether it's outings, keeping the class engaged, or building a culture. And so that was something I definitely wanted to do. And so this is actually the platform that I ran on when I ran for social reps, and I called it S.H.O.T.S, right? I think it was a little quirky, but everything had a meaning, right? I think it was important for us to stay engaged, right? Have this culture of engagement and understanding that everyone sort of has different backgrounds, different reasons for why they want to get an MBA, and just really making sure everyone sort of stays engaged at whatever capacity. H, obviously having fun. I enjoy having fun, and selfishly, one of the reasons I ran for social rep was because I was new to Los Angeles, and this is a perfect excuse for me to get to learn and know about Los Angeles, is just going out having fun and having 45 other people to do it with. O, being open to new social experiences, and whether it's if you like doing happy hour, you like going to the beach, or you like going to museums, just having a variety of different social experiences. In a little bit, you're going to see T taking a lot of pictures, just being able to sort of document what you do and having some memorabilia of what you've done and all the fun events that you have. And then, we're in business school, so, shots of whatever, sometimes it's going to happen, but of whatever, orange juice, whatever floats your boat. And that's sort of the platform that I ran on, and luckily got the role of social rep and had a lot of fun doing it. Did a bunch of events with my section, and these are some of the pictures. The top left was Leadership Foundations. It was sort of the end of Leadership Foundations, and we took a picture as a section. I think still at LF, we were still pretty raw in terms of our connections. But we definitely had some opportunities to sort of mix and mingle, and Leadership Foundation in and itself was an amazing, amazing time. One of the happy hours, great story, like, especially for someone that's like new to Los Angeles, great story. One of the happy hours, we were at a bar, and Justin Bieber and Hailey Bieber, who was his fiance at the time, were there as well, and we were just sort of fanboying, fangirling where we were there, and I'm just like, in my head I was like, this is so Los Angeles. Bump into celebrities all the time. Probably haven't seen another celebrity since, but it was like like day 3, day 4 in Los Angeles, and you bump into Justin Bieber and Hailey Bieber. Pretty cool stuff. Bottom left was FEMBA Games. And so FEMBA Games is sort of like battle of the sections, where all the sections sort of compete in this sort of like Olympic style event of like tug and war, human foosball, and a bunch of different things. So this is our section. We didn't win this year, but the other Saturday section, they took first place. So go Saturday, but our section did beat their section in tug of war. So you know, you didn't win, but you beat the winner. It's good enough for me.
There
The bottom middle picture, we did a lot of fun things. Thanksgiving, we had like a section potluck. This one, we did a Secret Santa as a section. So this is after the winter quarter was over. We all, as a section, we went to a bar and we exchanged gifts and had a really good time after taking finals. And then the picture on the right this is probably my favorite picture. This is after spring quarter, so the third quarter after our finals. We all sort of met up and we took a picture on the stairs together. We booked out the executive dining room, and we gave out superlatives to, most likely to do this, most likely to do that. And then we took this picture. It was a great time. I think this was like attended by like 80-90% of our section. And then you're going to see in later pictures, we rented a boat afterwards for all first years, but a lot of us went. And, there's all these like fun events where you're able to kind of build a culture and be really close with your class. I would say that my section mates are some of my closest friends at Anderson, and I wouldn't be where I am today without sort of a lot of the people in these pictures that kind of help support my journey, support where I am today. And I had a lot of fun doing it. And again, a lot of people here have very diverse backgrounds. And so my role as a social rep was to figure out how we could kind of bring it together and get people to mix and mingle and just have a great time. And I think a lot of these smiles and happy faces proves, we can have a good time after even having 9 hours of classes. So.
Oh, I love it. I had to get my glasses because is that Perry next to you? And yeah,
that is Perry. Perry, one of my favorite section mates. But yeah, Perry's next to me, and he was in our section as well. So, and a lot of people in my section, they've gone to do great things and will be doing great things. So I'm super proud of my section. A lot of love for them, and this is something that I hope that they had a great experience, and I was hopefully part of that and kind of making that experience positive for them. So.
Well, yeah, and just to underline for people coming into the program, I love the proactivity that, the school organizes some stuff. I mean, but Anderson, Dean Olean used to say the students run the school. And, I love that you guys were proactive enough. Hey, let's have an acknowledgement event. Let's let's grab some space on campus, the executive dining room, and then let's go off on a boat. Right. That's proactive. And, when you're coming into an MBA and you're asking yourself, how am I going to balance it all? Lord knows, James looked in the mirror and said, I'm crazy, back to himself. But, it's a good crazy, right? It's a committed crazy. It's an adventure kind of crazy. It's, this is my life. And, Hamilton has gotten me through COVID. So I love your S.H.O.T.S acronym, because I've listened to Hamilton over and over and over to just keep myself like, look, there's opportunity abounding even through a global pandemic. And I'm not going to throw away my shot. I'm not throwing away my shot. That's just great. So if you're listening to this, asking yourself, what can I learn from James, which is a lot, I just want to underline the proactivity and the section, it's randomly chosen, the people in your section. It's just people, have schedule needs and constraints. And so they either do Tuesday, Thursday, or they do hybrid, or they do all day Saturday. So it's a random cross section of future MBA classmates. But if you treat it like a home, if you treat it like a family, if you treat it like, hey, we're in this together and we're going to pull each other forward. So just a couple things to emphasize, because yeah, pictures are worth 1,000 words, and there's a lot of smiles in those pictures. It's good stuff, James.
Yeah, and I love the last part that when you mentioned this is really like a family, right? If you think about what the Saturday section is, right? Again, it's 10 Saturdays a quarter, 30 Saturdays a year, where you're coming together, especially during core. You get in early, you have breakfast, which is fantastic. Everyone fights over the breakfast sandwiches. And then you have 3 hours of classes together, right? And then you have an hour and a half lunch together, another 3 hours of 3.5 hours of classes together. Then you go to happy hour. So you're spending, 12 plus hours almost sometimes every Saturday, 30 Saturdays of the week. This is gonna be your family, and I think we all sort of go through the struggle and sacrifice of having to sacrifice all these Saturdays week in, week out. you lean on each other. You just naturally lean on each other, whether you're going through struggles in your career or personal life, whatever the case may be, you're going to find someone else in your section going through the same thing. And you have no one else to lean on but sort of your section mates for, again, 30 Saturdays, 10 plus hours each week to kind of bond and maybe even check out of what your struggles are and be in an environment where it's positive learning, positive experiences being shared. And this is sort of your oasis in a way, right?
Yeah.
And it brought us closer together, and I wouldn't have changed it for anything. I think Saturday was what I was looking for, and I found a family and a home. So
Oh, I've been here a long time, almost 2 decades. I've never heard oasis used as a descriptor. I love that. I mean, that's perfect. That's perfect. Well, my just hats off always to Saturday, because it occurs for me energy management wise as that's just a sixth work day. You just flew across the country, you were on a client site, now you're back, and you got to gin up just as much energy as you just put out Monday through Friday. Like my hat's always off to all day Saturday. The upside is it's only one visit to campus, so it's efficient, but wow, to do 7 hours of hardcore intellectual challenge in the two classes, and then have the lunch, kind of reset, come back for the second in the afternoon, and then have your happy hour hat on for Saturday night. But I observe that there's this kind of magical energy reality that the more you put into FEMBA, the more energy you get back. Like it really is this team and training kind of thing. Like you can get so many more results when you're going to the gym with a team than going to the gym by yourself. That's my observation as a cultural observer of 2 decades worth of FEMBA success stories. It's like people who throw their hat in and really allow themselves to be in the ebb and flow of each other's lives, not just academically, but professionally, even personally. Do you have kids? Do you have, like, what's your life about? Right. That then you pull each other forward.
Yeah, 100%. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, this is in many ways my second family, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of familiar faces that you're going to see in this picture. But to your point, Dylan, right? Like the more you put in, the more you get out. And so I basically took, the culture that I built within my section, and hopefully the positive experiences I was able to curate, and think about how can I expand this further to my class year. And so FEMBA Council. So being a section rep, you're automatically on FEMBA Council, but I decided to take it a step further and actually be a part of a leadership position. And so I ran for a VP of Social my second year, and got elected into the role, and really was able to do what I did for Section 2, but for the whole class year. And this is some of the pictures that we took together as an executive board. So the picture on the left was our first night together as an executive board. It was during my first year's grad gala. And so we decided to have dinner together at UCLA as a board before we went to the graduation party together. And so here's just a picture of us together. The top right was at the tailgate where I believe it was Justin Field that, beat us up, but, he's in the NFL. So I think or was it Jalen Hurts? I forget who it was. I think it was Jalen Hurts.
Was that Oklahoma? Yeah.
And it was Oklahoma. Yeah. And then the bottom, something about the stair pictures that I really love. I think what you see, FEMBA Council, a lot of previous years have all taken pictures in front of the brick. And so this year we decided to do something different. And so we sort of used the stairs, and, some of us had smiles, some of us, had a mean mug, but, it was basically saying, hey, business is serious, or we mean business, or something along those lines. I forget what the slogan that we had was, but definitely, one of the best experiences that I had during FEMBA. Tarong was the president at the time, great mentor, great leader, and really kind of helped us steer the ship. And then also all my peers here that are VPs, we had an amazing working relationship, and we did a lot of great things. I mean, part of it was cut short by COVID, but I think a part of it also gave us the opportunity to really step into roles as leaders and figure out how can we sort of steer the ship in a positive way. And as a board, my second year, we managed to do some of those things. And then me being crazy enough, I actually ran again for my third year and ended up being the vice president of student affairs, and try to make an impact less on the social side, but more on how can I improve the student experience, not only for incoming students, but current students, and also build bridges with some of the other programs that we have Anderson across campus as well. So definitely being in this leadership position was something that helped me grow, but also something that made me excited week in and week out to remain and kind of be a contributing member of the program.
Well, I just love, and 4 of our 6 summer spotlights. So obviously there's you, and then Ben and Meghan and Arun. So Derek and Maxine are not represented, but 4 of the 6 spotlights. And there's Darcy, who's, the producer with us here for Drive Time, and, Throng, last year's president, and Matt Long, that's who gave Meghan 5 pounds of gummy bears when she moved into her new apartment. And, all the cross-reference stories. Luke, who flew in from Denver, and there's Osh, and and Devin. It's like what a village, right? It takes a village to raise a FEMBA, right? It takes a village to be a CEO, right? And look at who you surrounded yourself with and who was surrounded by you. Yeah, I love these pictures, and Tharong's socks down there in the bottom right. If you're gonna be
yeah, there's a lot of hidden gems of pictures that's coming out of the archives. But yeah, one of the cool things was, I feel like a lot of us, I mean, Dev and I, we were in the same section. Luke and Ash were hybrid. But yeah, we're all sort of, in a way, different sections, but we all came together. And I think one of the coolest things that we did was when we had our executive retreat, Devin used to work at UCLA, and so we actually stayed in one of the dorm rooms at UCLA. I think it was like pre-summer, so it was like before the undergraduate students moved in, and we had like our strategic planning session there. And we spent 2-3 nights in a dorm room. Never thought I'd be back in a dorm room in one of those tiny twin beds, but that was probably one of the best weekends that we had as a group, because there we just instantly clicked. It was like magical, right? It was probably, the first couple times, like we've had like virtual conversations before, but then we just had this retreat, and, everything just clicked. And, it carried throughout the year, where we were sort of a well-oiled machine. We were able to get through issues. We were able to kind of drive strategy forward, execute, work as a team. And it was a completely collaborative environment. Obviously, Teri had a lot to do with it, being the president. But that one weekend where we were in a dorm room for 3 nights, and shared amazing stories, learned a lot about each other. And those are the moments that, you come to get an MBA, there's the academic portion of it, but 5 years later, right, no one's going to remember whether you got an A, B, or C on your accounting final, right? But you're going to remember nights like those where we were in the dorm room, and all the laughs and the memories that we shared. Those are the things that I'm going to remember, 5 years from now, not necessarily what I got on the midterm. So I think a lot of the MBA is just really building memories, building experiences, but building those with people in a very genuine way, where, you're expanding your network, but it's a shared network between 2 people. And I think at UCLA, I don't know if it's a culture or things that you do, Dylan, or the staff does, but it's very easy to do that at UCLA. And I think it's the people that you guys bring in, where we're able to kind of share success and really invest in each other's time and goals. And just these relationships are just so natural, and it just blossoms in a positive way.
Well, those are kind words. And obviously on behalf of staff and faculty, we appreciate it. But also just to underline to people watching this, every year FEMBA executive board doesn't necessarily have a retreat. You guys, you took your shot, you went an extra step, and you use the resources. Hey, I know how we could get into the undergrad dorms, right? Like that's a, space effective, time effective, price effective way to do it. And, people's time is so precious during FEMBA, right? It's not undergrad, this makes, these pictures are so lovely. It looks like, oh my, but this is while he's clocking miles around the world and being a consultant and rewriting his career. Although at this point you'd probably left consulting, but just for those of you coming into the program, your time is so precious, but so is everyone else's. And that kind of shared preciousness like, if you think back to undergrad, there was always people who were just kind of like, along for the ride,
Right.
because they didn't have anything else to do. So they went to college. But people choose FEMBA, like full-grown grown-ups with constraints and responsibility and accountability and, family and professional demands on their time, choose to carve out 20 hours a week, plus or minus, for the 2.5 to 3 years. And it's such a precious opportunity to be with people who are high aspiration, just like you, high constraint, just like you. And so when you overlap, you can get this kind of synergy. And so I just wanted to underline the opportunity, but also underline the effort, James. Like, you put effort in, and not everybody gets to be on FEMBA Council. We obviously want FEMBA Council to be populated with wonderful leaders. And there are 50 other clubs and organizations. So, you run for FEMBA Council because you saw it on this video and James did it. Oh, it was really competitive in my section. Well, that's okay. There are lots of little pockets of leadership opportunity awaiting for everybody. And, everybody writes their own adventure here. So I just want to, kind of focus on the effort you put in, and to just remind people that there is a plethora of opportunity to use graduate school as a laboratory, a learning leadership laboratory where I can take a good trajectory and raise it a degree. And if I raise my lifetime trajectory 1 degree, the dividends that will pay are immeasurable. So.
Yeah, well said. And obviously, these are pictures of us in person, but I also want to give a shout out to this year's board as well, where Meghan was a president, and then we had Ryan Hayes, Perry, Amy Tran, Caitlin, Sarah Anderson. Who else was on the board this year? Myself, Austin. I apologize if I forget anybody, but they did an amazing job as well this year. Obviously, Meghan being at the helm, but just really navigating the school through sort of the virtual environment and all those behind the door conversations that we had with admin and the dean this year to really ensure that, we are sort of pushing students' best interests and really being conscious of, everything that's going on, whether it be sort of things going on in the real world of sort of the social injustices and whatnot, or even within our school, understanding, hey, we're on Zoom all day, and that could have sort of mental fatigue, and having all those conversations behind the doors with the dean and really pushing for things to change or things to help the students out. Our board did an amazing job navigating through this year, and just kind of helping steer the student body. And so I don't have too many pictures of us together, but right. I want to make sure that I kind of give a shout out to them as well, because the board this year, the amount of, things that we had to go through to kind of make sure that we're still able to build a positive learning environment, a positive experience for the school, can't go sort of unnoticed. And so I want to give a shout out to them as well.
Oh, thank you for that. Right. And yeah, these pictures are 2 years old when there was a physical, if you show this year's board led by Meghan and you all, it would be a Zoom, a Zoom quilt. Yeah. And you guys have, you really have stepped into this crisis. It was a global health crisis, but locally it was an educational crisis, right? You guys did your last 5 quarters, spring, summer, fall, winter, spring. Right. So 5 of your 9 quarters were impacted by this global pandemic. And you all, we've done stuff that we've never done before. All these town halls with not one dean, but like every dean, and trying to figure out what are the adjustments, knowing the global immersions were not going to be able to happen. How do we deliver GAP and BCO, your master's capstone experience, virtually and still have it be a quality educational experience? You guys have been our partner. Meghan acknowledged Dean Fratius, and and we can return the acknowledgement back to you all, because we had, the campus is saying one thing, the state's saying one thing, the city's saying one thing, the county's saying one thing, and we're trying to, well, what do the students say? Like, we gotta cross-reference all these stakeholder voices, and you guys were our go-to source of information for what is this human experience like? Zoom fatigue, when that showed up, like, that wasn't a thing, but it became quickly a thing. And what are we going to do about that? And how do we make the most of the constraints that life has imposed on all of us? So you guys have been just really great. So, thank you.
I appreciate
All
that.
of us.
Great. Let's see what else we got here.
Yeah.
Oh,
See.
awesome. This is my sell on Los Angeles, and obviously being new and sort of being super proactive, I'm like, I got to experience Los Angeles as much as I can, right? And so the picture on the top left, that was at the Coliseum. That's when the Rams played the Chiefs, where they scored like every second. That was when they scored. It was like 50-50 when they scored over 100 points. And I'm from New York. I'm obviously a Giants fan, but never been to MetLife. This is actually my first live NFL game, and what a game to go to, right? You have the Rams and the Chiefs going. I think this is the year the Rams went to the Super Bowl, and both teams scored 50 plus points. An amazing game. And, obviously you go to Los Angeles and you expect moments like this, and absolutely blown away. The picture on the top right and the bottom left, this is one of the amazing opportunities that I got to go do as a student at Anderson. I think there was an email that went out, and it was the John Wooden Award, which is sort of the Heisman Award for college basketball. They were looking for volunteers to help work at that event. And so I was like, I'm in Los Angeles. I have to do this. Huge college basketball fan. And this is the year where they had like Zion Williamson and RJ Barrett and John Moran. So like really the future of the league, right? I think two of them are in the playoffs this year. And so I had the opportunity to go to this event. And this is something that I've never done before. So I worked on the ESPN side, where I was helping the production team out as a filler. And so like the day before the actual event, they do walkthroughs, and they would use volunteers to, pretend you're Zion, walk across this line, look at the tape, get the lighting right, do a speech, make sure the teleprompter is all right. And so I played the role of Zion, and I was actually able to hold the trophy and everything, and just be a part of these cool events that only in Los Angeles, only through connections through UCLA Anderson, that you're able to sort of maximize. And it's one of those things where it's like, you got to sign, if you want to be part of this and you want to do all these things, you can, it's available, right? But it's putting yourself out there, wanting to do it. And I had an amazing time, and I actually had the chance to sit in the audience during the televised showing of the John Wooden Award. And I was able to meet some of the athletes, go to the after party, and Kareem was there, a bunch of NBA legends were there. And that was such an amazing opportunity. And then the last one on the bottom right, again, you're in Los Angeles, go audition somewhere. And so I think it was like October, maybe it was like I don't know, October, November of like my first year, like Let's Make a Deal, which is the show with Wayne Brady. They were doing like auditions. And so I went in, like I submitted something, they called me back. I went in, I did an audition. I didn't hear back a year later. And they actually did a filming during COVID. I mean, obviously when things were better, we had to wear a mask, but there was no studio audience. It was just the contestants. And that's me on TV looking at Wayne Brady, being a part of Let's Make a Deal. And so again, you're in Los Angeles, right? Like, why not do all these amazing things and experience as much as you can in this, whether it be a short period of time you're in Los Angeles, or if you're in Los Angeles for life. Like, these are the amazing opportunities. Just a snippet of all the things that I've been able to do since I've been in Los Angeles. And it's an amazing place to be. It definitely had a lot of fun doing it. So
is that you in the middle?
That's me right here. Yeah. I was in a Lederhosen because, in Let's Make a Deal, everyone has to wear like a costume. So I remember having like a Zoom meeting with the casting director who's like, hey, let me see your costume. I was like, what do you think about a Lederhosen? And so I put that, he's like, this is fantastic. Like, we'll get you in. And, I didn't win any money, didn't make a deal. But being there, you're in Los Angeles. Like, why not do all these great and fun things and have it be part of your story? So
that is amazing. Well, I lived in Germany, so I lived in Munich. So in Southern, because Lederhosen is actually a Southern German thing. Mm-hmm. It's like cowboy boots, right? It's regional. It's not all Germans. I didn't know that till I got there. So why Lederhosen?
You'll see in the later pictures, we actually, a group of us went out to Oktoberfest in October of our second year. And it was just in my closet, authentic costume. I was like, I'm just going to wear that. But it was so much fun. I mean, you know, Wayne Brady is what you see on screen is what you get off screen, and you know, great guy, super entertaining, all improv, and very professional. And I had a great time at the taping of Let's Make a Deal. I think it aired a couple months ago. But
That's
again,
awesome.
one of those things in Los Angeles, you just do because why not, right?
Well, and just again, right? Like you're also serious about school. You're going to class, you're making grades, and you know, you're having a bi-coastal intercultural experience, right? Like, you know, you could have showed up like the New Yorker guy who's not impressed with any of this, or you can just play the game, right?
Yeah.
You know, as a Texan, I get starstruck, and yeah, it's goofy and I feel silly, but it's like, yeah, you're here. It's what it's about, right? Oh my God, look who's over at that table.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, with your Bieber moment. And I just love the energy that you brought, right? First day in LA was FEMBA Palooza. Next weekend, you bring your parents, right? Like build your own adventure. Let this be an adventure, and look for the adventure in it. These are just underlines I want to share for future generations. Like, because it's a big city. It can also be overwhelming. It can also be, you know, where do I start? And FOMO, and maybe I'll just stay in my apartment tonight because this place is just too much. So, you know, you got to bring a little oomph. That's a technical term. So I love it. Keep going. These are great. These are great.
Oh, and this is some of the just random pictures of big groups. I think one of the coolest things is top left, top right. I think again, when it comes to your classmates, it's part of its family, right? Like I went to two classmates' wedding. You know, the top left, Sahara and Henry. They were engaged before FEMBA. They're both my FEMBA classmates, and I was honored enough to have been invited to their wedding. On the bottom right, Dan was he was on my one of my first learning teams at LF, and you know, a couple months later we developed a great relationship. So he asked me to join his wedding, and I was there. I flew all the way to Italy for his wedding, and then this picture was a local wedding where he invited a bunch of our classmates to the event. And you know, you build these relationships that are so real and so genuine, and these are lifelong friends that you're gonna have, and whether it evolves to like a long-term confidant or not, you're building real connections. And you know, this is some of the outcome of some of the connections that you build. Being able to be close enough to these people where you're invited to the wedding because you're going to be an important part of their life, and they want you to be a part of some of these milestones. So that was incredible. The bottom left, that was the.
I don't want to go too quick. I'm sorry, I'm stepping over you. But so you flew to Italy for Dan's wedding, and you flew to Dallas for Sahara and Henry. You know, because that's people like Derek said it. Like it's okay to make new friends, right? Like you know, you're 30, you're kind of like I already got my friends. Like I don't need any new friends. I'm here for. I want to run an MPV. You know, I want to crunch numbers, run regression, and I want to be the smartest guy in the room. It's like you can learn all of the academics. You can leave FEMBA and be the smartest guy in the room, but don't shortchange yourself, right? And you don't lose your pre-FEMBA friends. You just, you know, make new friends, but keep the old. One is silver and the other's gold, right? That it's, you know, there's that little song that we sing to our children to help them get through transitions in their school years. And the wisdom of that is still precious, right? You don't lose your old friends, but this is not just, I just want people to kind of let it sink in for a second. You know, he flew to Italy, he flew to Dallas. While he's working a full-time job, he still made friendships at a level where people, if you've planned a wedding, weddings are expensive. You know, every guest is another $200, right? Like you can't just invite everyone. And when it's in Italy or when it's in Dallas and in Los Angeles, but this is how James's journey went. And I hope you're seeing the proactivity that James brought, because James, I mean, look, he's handsome, he's articulate, he's a wonderful guy. Let's just pump him up, right? But it's not just that. It's also how he comported himself, right? And the sharing success culture, he's mentioned culture a couple times. It's a proactive opportunity. There is no is in corporate culture, right? Every company's different, each department's different, each team is different. but you're getting this terminal degree in management, and you get to say for the rest of your career how the culture around you is. You get to be the light that walks in the room that other people go, oh, I want that energy. I like what whatever she's drinking, I want to drink that. Whatever he's eating for breakfast, I want to eat that. So I just really want to emphasize, James is wonderful, smart, and awesome, but so are you. And there's a proactivity that is rewarded in graduate school in general, but in Anderson, I believe, and in FEMBA in very specific, an MBA is a degree in management. It is about amazing results through and with the time, talent, and effort of those around you. It's not a me thing, it's a we thing.
Mhm.
So, oh my God, your pictures are just we,
Yeah.
right?
And
W.
these are all classmates too. The wedding pictures, those are all FEMBA students. So it's not just me that's doing all these things. A lot of people are making those connections, and it's an important and integral part of the program. So
Yeah, these are awesome, James. These are so well selected.
thank you. Yeah, and the top right, my section mates. The bottom left was just FEMBA Games. I mean, this is one of the important things that people don't realize. Your class of 2021, your class of 2022, 2023. Yeah, you're one class here, but you're part of a 900 student body population, and FEMBA Games was something that was across all the different programs, right? We have a lot of events that's across the whole FEMBA program, and it's an opportunity for you to meet upperclassmen or more junior classmen, and those are also excellent opportunities for you to continue to make those connections, learn from them, share your advice. And the FEMBA Games was it was a much more competitive environment, but it was one example of one of those events where you're able to enjoy a day. This was a Sunday afternoon with the whole student body, all the different class years. And so that was one of the cool things that we got to do. And for good measure, we actually did have about I actually have one of the cool things that I'm going to be able to walk away with in the program is that flag itself. Anytime we have these big events, I bring it around and I have people sort of sign the flag. And I don't know how many people have signed it by now, but I know it's getting low on real estate. So it's going to be something I'm able to walk away with just as a memorabilia. So, but for that day itself, it was used as it was used on the ship, and a lot of people took pictures on it, or with it.
Where did you get that idea? I love that. That's awesome.
I don't know. It was. I thought it was cool, and having a boat and there's just a UCLA flag just waving around, and I figured might as well have people sign the flag while I have it. So.
What a cool display. And, your classmates are going to go become titans of industry, and you'll have reunions and you can show that flag and, oh my God, there's her signature before she did the deal. And that's so cool. Oh, I love it. In your bottom left picture, that's the recreation center with the pools. And that's where the first 3 FEMBA Paloozas were held. And we thought that was like the world's biggest space. And after 3 years, we outgrew it. And so we had to move to, the Chancellor's Lawn between Royce Hall and Powell Library, where, the picture where your parents were, because that was, your parents were in front of that. So, oh, that's great. The SS UCLA.
There you go.
On this. That's great.
Oh, again, so this is, again, just more amazing opportunities that you get, in and out of the classroom, right? I think some of this is a little bit more out of the classroom. A bunch of us, we actually went to a charity ball together. We're all FEMBA students. And one of the cool things when you get to work, when you're in a program with a bunch of other professionals, they have personal networks. And so this was actually Ernst & Young sponsored the Blue Tie Gala that's done every year for children in the Santa Monica Flying Museum. And so we had a couple classmates that worked at Ernst & Young, and they sponsored a table, and they were able to invite a bunch of the classmates out. And so we went to this gala together, donated some money, met other people, and just had a really fun time. And I think, again, it's building the network. And one of the cool things, you work with all these different professionals, and you get to do some of this cool stuff. And the gala was definitely one because, obviously it was for a cause, but it allowed us to sort of dress up and, again, enjoy as classmates, sort of a life outside of school as well. And so that was one of the cool things that we had to do.
Is that Dan next to you?
That is Dan. Yeah, Dan.
So the wedding picture on the prior slide. Here we go.
Yeah. One of the cool stories about Dan and his wife, it was my first Thanksgiving, not in New York, not with family. And so they were going to a potluck, and they knew that, I was not going home for Thanksgiving. And so they actually invited me out to the potluck as well. It was Dan's fiance at the time. And, I got to obviously know her very well. And they just had a baby, and that's super exciting. And I met the baby the other day, but those are the classmates, they knew that I wasn't going home for Thanksgiving. So they decided to invite me to kind of join them and their family, which is super cool. So, but yeah, that's Dan and Leanne. She's wonderful as well.
Oh my gosh. Well, all health to their new baby. Oh my goodness. Yeah, there's all the FEMBA babies are coming now. It's so exciting what happens in the third year. People move on with the rest of life. It's part of it for many, many families. Oh, that's great. And yeah, just, if you ever wanted to have your own entourage or be part of an entourage, like let FEMBA because people are well connected. In LA, Michael Fontanez on the FEMBA team, he and I worked together the first year, and he was my LA whisperer. He taught me how to do LA. I mean, because it was just so big when I came here. The traffic, all of it. And, one of the things he said was, you got to have a hookup, the way you do LA is, somebody who can hook you up with tickets or access or whatever. Cause he said, if you pay cover price for everything, you can't afford to live here. But LA is run on network. It's, it's the Hollywood model. It's the business model. So I love that tie-in of Ernst & Young and Blue Tie. And now look at us, we get to put on the fun clothes and go have a night out and do something good for charity. And isn't that getting you ready for the second half of your career also? Because, that's what leaders do. They get on boards and they begin to participate in the philanthropic endeavor that is part of the background that makes our society function. And you're practicing all that while you're in FEMBA. Just great. So, okay, how about the Lederhosen? Gotta hear.
So I think up until now, all the pictures that you've seen are probably year one, right? Like that's like all just year one, right? I think the bottom right, this is sort of like the first picture we took as year two. And this is when a bunch of us went out to Munich for Oktoberfest. So we all got dressed up and we all flew out and we all traveled together. I think we spent a couple days there. But again, it's one of those things where you build these friends that want to experience things together. And we all just met each other less than a year ago, and here we are traveling to Germany for Oktoberfest, and those things are again memories that you will remember. Maybe we'll go back together as a group, as a reunion. Who knows? But those are some of the amazing opportunities that you get when you meet some of these people in the program.
Well, and just people notice, like there's Jay, there's Dan, like see how the faces are coming through, and I just don't know everybody's name. I just can only point out some, but wow. So is that picture in Germany?
It is. This is our hotel lobby. I didn't want to put in some of the other pictures of us in the tent. This is one of the more cordial pictures that we took together in the hotel lobby before we went to the actual festivities. But again, amazing. Everyone, some people brought their significant others, and which is also an important part of the program. I think we call them Section 0 for significant others. But you get to meet them as well, and they join you on some of these events. So.
Well, oh my God. And so, yeah, there's this September, there's this a little gap between year one and year two. And, you can go on a global immersion, or you could just organize some classmates and fly to Germany. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah,
right?
Why not?
The staff, the faculty, we did not do that. That was not our idea. That was a bunch of proactive people saying, hey, these years are precious. Let's give ourselves a lifelong memory. And if you've never been to Oktoberfest, I moved to Germany during Oktoberfest, and I had a 3-year delegation with Siemens, and I left during Oktoberfest. So I got to go to 4 Oktoberfests, 97, 98, 99, and 2000. And if you've never experienced Oktoberfest, sidebar conversation, but oh my God, that is German operational efficiency at its best. And those beers, it's a
Oh
liter.
my goodness.
It's a liter, and it's like 7%, and it's fresh, and it's cold, and it's and everybody
And the
seems.
people that bring it out, they're holding like 6 of them at a time on each hand. They're a liter each, you know, and they're walking upstairs. Like, I don't know how they do it. I need that gym membership. I mean,
it is an amazing cultural moment. It is a global FEMBA Palooza is what it is. I love it.
who knows? You started at that one little area where we had FEMBA, the FEMBA Games, and you moved to the Chancellor Square. Next year, maybe it'll be a global Palooza. Who knows?
SoFi Stadium, here we come, right?
SoFi Stadium, yeah.
This is great. All right, and then the top one, I guess what? Top right. That's a good old fashioned MBA picture. Yep, there we are inside Anderson.
Yep, that's. I mean, this is when I was still working at Accenture. They actually sponsored one of the Easton events, and you know, I worked the event, had the opportunity to meet a couple of people and sort of represent my company as the lead sponsor for the event. So we had a couple of speakers speak at one of the events, and I think that's one of the cool things about the MBA program, where you're bringing in industry experts to speak on relevant topics, whether it's technology from the Easton side or finance, or you know, healthcare, whatever the case may be. We bring in professional companies, get sponsored by professional organizations, and you get to go to these events and learn about latest and greatest in terms of the industry, how it applies to business, opportunities to network. And it's not just MBA students that attend some of these events. UCLA is so renowned that you have other industry experts in the field come join these events and learn what some of these speakers have to say. And as a student in the MBA program, even as an alumni, you could join these events, but especially as a student, you're going and you're networking not only with maybe the speakers of the event, the company sponsoring the event, but all these other amazing people that are working in that industry as well. And this was just an example of one of the cool events that I had the opportunity to work, because I worked at Accenture at the time, but we have so many throughout the year.
And it's, you know, it's in our title, fully employed MBA, right? I was a full-time MBA student, and that means fully unemployed. And, you know, we forget that, right? Like some people are like, well, I want to immerse myself and I'll do the full-time program. And I get that. I get that framework. I chose that framework, but I also didn't have a job that was worth keeping, right? Like FEMBA and EMBA, the working professional model, you've built something that's worth keeping. And I know we're going to hear about your journey. You chose to reset your narrative halfway through, but, you know, by and large, your classmates, the vast majority, have a going concern job, and the constraints and responsibilities and the network that goes with that. So you just literally don't know who you're sitting left and right of in class or looking left and right of on Zoom this year, and leveraging the networking effect of all of that, right? 6 degrees of Richie Chang. That's our new meme from this. Richie Chang is your class's Kevin Bacon, right? But like, we are all connected. If you want to get to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, you know, well, James was hanging out with him on accident, and well, he's also a Bruin, and he's also, you know, he comes to the Wooden Award every year, and, you know, just crazy. Like, well, you could, if you really aimed at it and were willing to put the effort in, you can so connect yourself to the movers and shakers of the modern economy, not just in America, but globally, because it's all coming through UCLA, and not just Anderson, but it's, you know, we are a magnet for the most talented young people on the globe. So get to know some of them, you know, just awesome. All right, keep going. We're only in year one. I love it.
Yeah, well, I think we're done with a lot of the sort of the fun archival. I mean, this is a little bit more sort of direct school related. And these are some of the pictures that I had when we studied in different countries, and we did the global immersions. And so for me, when I was an undergrad, I had the opportunity to study abroad in Hong Kong. And so that's sort of when I first started building my global footprint and interest in sort of global affairs. And so I knew one of the things when I joined Anderson, it was and must that I had to do. And I had the fortunate opportunity to go on two. The first on the left side is Sweden and Finland, which is more of an entrepreneur type track. And if you guys know anything about the Nordic regions, they do a lot of the mobile gaming, Spotify, and so a very strong entrepreneurship culture there. And so we had a faculty lead 3 classes while we were here in Los Angeles prior to the trip. And then we spent a week abroad, 3 days in Finland, 3 days in Sweden, where we did a bunch of company visits, met people that worked at Spotify, Angry Birds, the creators of like Clash of Clans. And you go with 40, 50 MBA students, and it goes across the full-time FEMBA and executive MBA program. And you have the opportunity to meet all these different people, you know, seven days you're spending together abroad, and you build really good connections with them, and you get to learn a lot more about the topic. And so the top left, we went to like an ice bar. I think this was in Sweden, and you know, we have like our hoods on, and it was a lot of fun. The bottom left was in Finland. And this is when we try to, like, we hiked to like the highest point that we could find in Helsinki to try to find the Northern Lights. And we didn't see any, but we did see shooting stars. I didn't see any shooting stars. I missed it every time when everyone's like, oh, this is a shooting star. And I missed it. But this was a group of us that went up late at night in Helsinki. And so these were some of the moments of our Sweden and Finland trip. And then to the right, this is when we went to an amazing program in India. And this was a completely separate topic where it was on entertainment, finance, and healthcare. And, you know, we similar thing. We did a bunch of company visits while we were in India. We went to Mumbai first, and then we went to Hyderabad. And so we went to 2 different places in India. Again, 40, 50 of us across the different programs, doing company visits, learning about the country, the economics, and all these different facets, specifically on the topics of entertainment, finance, and healthcare. And these were some of the pictures of us. And, you know, the picture on the top right, as you can see, I'm probably up to no good on there. Grab the mic and just pose with it, I guess. But these are amazing opportunities that UCLA Anderson offers. And it's not only an opportunity to kind of build your global mindset as businesses are sort of becoming more globalized and whatnot, but you also get opportunity to network, learn about the culture, travel abroad, and, you know, again, all positive experiences that you talk about, you know, 3 to 5 years down the line after you graduate. So
those are great. And so you were able to, you know, pre-pandemic, you were fortunate enough, I mean, you were proactive. So you were taking global immersions your second year. And unfortunately, that proved to be a really pro move because you weren't going to get to do them your third year.
Yeah.
But they're coming back. I mean, Lucy's team has been setting the wheels in motion, and she's going to reserve X number of alumni seats for everyone for the next couple of years for the people who really, really, really wanted to do a global immersion and, you know, due to the poor timing of COVID, had to miss it. Because it's always fun when there's always a few alumni in addition to current full-time
correct
FEMBA and executive MBA students, and they add to the mix. And, you know, it's just more better networking around the world. So our global immersions will be back, and they will, you know, they've been sorely missed.
Yeah. And I think one of the cool things, at least I remember in India, and it goes to show sort of the network that UCLA Anderson has, but a lot of these companies, you know, it's the CEOs that are speaking to you. And I think at one point we went to, I think it was like the finance ministry of India, I forget what it was. But we had high level people, like 5 to 10 of them, you know, that are really important to the country, spend a whole hour or 90 minutes with us, and really kind of educate us in terms of, you know, their fiscal policy, where they're headed as a country, and really kind of provide that level of insight. And again, it goes to show like how strong the Anderson brand is and the caliber of individuals that we're able to attract and speak to us and spend time with us. So
yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, and the UCLA brand also. Yeah, it's humbling how respected UCLA is when you get outside of America. You know, I don't know if we even really take it for granted. I mean, excuse me, I think we take it for granted. I don't know that we can appreciate it when you're in America, because it's like, yeah, UCLA is a good school, and so is USC, and so is Chicago, and so is Syracuse, so is Texas A&M, you know, but I don't know. When I've been abroad on these global immersions, you know, nobody asked me about Texas A&M, and I love my Aggies. I love me some Aggies, but you're right, UCLA, UCLA, as we are known around the world. It's an amazingly respected, you know, just from our history in the sciences and engineering and
Business.
and business. Yeah. Yeah. You know, so great. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah. Getting to take advantage of those government leaders and industry leaders, really high level people. You know, I don't know what the American equivalent would be, but it'd be, you know, going to DC and having a secretary level person come in, you know, it's that kind of deal. So.
Yeah. So this one, you know, now we're in the COVID environment. And so my sort of senior thesis was the BCO program. So that's like the entrepreneurial route that we did. And so this is my group mates. And so what we had was one of our Ace, who's one of our classmates, he's from Thailand, and his family puts together this Thai snack called Myang Kham. And, you know, I actually had the opportunity to visit him in Thailand sort of at the tail end of my India trip, and his family shared it with me. And I remember when we were going through the BCO program, you know, we had a couple ideas, and, you know, that we started on something and we decided to pivot because we wanted to go with a sort of consumable retail product. So we decided to bring this to market and bring it through the BCO program. And so that's what we worked on throughout BCO. And, you know, obviously it was a COVID environment. And so getting a new product to market during the COVID environment was so hard. And I just remember we had to sort of think creatively, like, how are we going to get people to test our product, try our product, and give us feedback and figure out like what adjustments do we have to make to some of these flavors. And so I remember, you know, we all got tested and all that stuff, and we would meet a couple weekends and literally build these products, put them in these containers. And we had a bunch of people, classmates, especially classmates through the BCO program, are so supportive of everyone's ideas and would volunteer to sign up for stuff, take surveys and whatnot. And so we had a bunch of classmates that signed up to receive some of these packages with our product in it. And so I remember we would spend a whole day preparing, I don't know, 50, 70 bags of these products. And we would for the weekend, we would just drive to people's places, you know, safely drop off the packages and send out a survey and have people try our product, help us iterate. And, you know, we came up with our final product, and we took it through the BCO program. And we had a lot of fun doing it. I think we have a lot of amazing ideas that go through the BCO program. For us, a product was something that was super cool, because when you think about bringing a new product to market, you have to think about what's your marketing strategy, what's your target segment, developing the financial model, how you're going to launch a product, how you're going to execute. All those things that you're learning throughout your MBA program gets directly applied while you're in BCO. And for us, it was an amazing learning experience. I think we all had some entrepreneurial itch while we're throughout the program, and, you know, it all culminated to a final presentation, and 6 months of us working many hours and doing this. And so that was a little bit about my BCO experience.
And how was, you know, what's the future look like for?
I think we've all taken a step back, but I think we're all still, you know, in constant conversation as a group. I think we're all really close friends, and I think we all have that entrepreneurial itch, and it sometimes it itches more than others, and I think we try to continue after BCO, but I think we all wanted to kind of do our separate things in terms of our own current careers. But I'm very confident that, you know, we'll eventually kind of get back around to this and see what we can do with it, because we put in a lot of work. We believe we have a good product, but I think BCO, you know, what was not easy, especially during COVID. And so we sort of decided to take a little bit of a break, but an amazing learning opportunity for you to develop an idea all the way to getting like an MVP of a product to almost launching. But we ran into certain challenges, whether it's because it's COVID, so it's more difficult to get products on shelves and all these different things. But it's about solving one problem after another. And I think a lot of problems while we're in BCO, and we learned a lot because of that. So.
And it was an extension of Ace's family business?
I don't know if his family has a business, but it was a product. Well, his family sells it in Thailand, but we decided to bring it to the States, change up some of the ingredients so it's a little bit more familiar here.
Okay.
But it was, I think he was very proud to kind of show his parents at least, what we worked on in some of the pictures, and something that he was proud of and his family was proud of as well. So we're very happy about that.
What a globally interconnected world we all live in. That's awesome. Thank you. This is great.
And then this might be my last slide. And so this is year 3, again, COVID world. And I think, so at this point, I was no longer working at Accenture. I was a FEMBA, fully unemployed MBA. And you don't work a while, you don't work for a bit, and you're going through this MBA, and you wanted to challenge yourself and really figure out, like, how much have we learned, right? How do we put that to the test? And so what we decided to do, we on the left, Nikhil, Jacqueline, and I, we all have healthcare backgrounds. And so in November of 2020, Gilead was having their very first case competition. And so we entered, and I think there was like 30 some odd teams compete. And we came together. We were like, hey, let's do this. We have like the background, and we'd learned enough through school, and let's see how far we can go. And we made it to the second round. I think it was like the top 6 teams, and then we ended up presenting in front of a bunch of executives at Gilead, and we ended up taking first place. And I think this was something that was very validating in terms of, you learn a lot in your MBA, but really kind of putting that to the test and measuring it. And there's no better way to measure that than like a national case competition against all these other business school students and seeing how far you can go. And we had the itch to do it, and we took first place. And it was probably one of our proudest moments as FEMBA students to be able to not only represent Anderson, but to really validate each of us individually, but even collectively, that what we signed up for was absolutely worth it. And how far we gone to be at the point to compete nationally and take first place was an amazing thing that we did. And then we got the itch for it. No, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. It was 30 teams, not 30 Anderson teams, but 30 teams from all over. All
over, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good job.
And thank you. And then you get the itch for it, and like, was that a fluke? Like you get this imposter syndrome of like, hey, was that a fluke? Did we really do this? And we were crazy enough to do more case competitions. And so we did the Yale School of Management case competition. And I think this was like 60 some odd schools. And this was the international case competition, again, in the healthcare field. And, we placed number 3. We should have gotten 2, in my personal opinion. But still, top 3 MBA case competition across sort of the globe, some of the top business schools, and we took 3rd. And again, it was one of those things where we were super proud of to kind of see the progression and feel so much validation of the amount that we learned, but also being able to work together as a team and kind of solve some of these real world problems as MBA students, and compete against others to kind of measure, like, yeah, we learned a lot, and we had a lot of fun doing it. And then we did a 3rd case competition where Fiona was on our team as well, and this was Purdue, and we placed 3rd again. And so it was a lot of fun, and probably one of the best experiences that I had, especially as a 3rd year. We did all this as a 3rd year. We wish we did it earlier. And so I definitely recommend people to participate in case competitions, to use it as a measuring, like, where are you, right? Year 1, maybe you take 5th. Year 2, maybe whatever. In year 3, take everything that you guys learned and see how far you could go. And so that's something that we did. and we were able to get the results, represent the school well. But it also showcases, how you're able to bring in sort of this diverse set of skills within your team, bring it together and solve real world problems. All these case competitions were real world problems that these companies or the case is trying to solve. And we were able to, propose a good enough solution to be recognized for our recommendation. So
That's so inspiring. Do you think, because these were all done virtually, right?
they were all done virtually, yeah.
Do you think in a in-person pre-COVID reality, do you think you would have done 3 if you had to travel?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I probably not. I think probably not, and I think that's one of the positives about the COVID piece in terms of the virtual environment, where it was a little bit more accessible to do all these. But in a real world pre-COVID scenario, we would be traveling to these universities to compete. I think we would have probably done 2. I don't think we would have done 3. But I think the positives of having traveled is you have that weekend to network with other MBA students.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And all that stuff. And I'm sure there'll be programming around the event, and they'll give you like a really big check. I think that's really cool, right? It's like one of those like lottery checks. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's one part we missed out on. But I think being able to compete in all 3, on top of having work and school and all that stuff, something that we were all like extremely proud of. Especially being 3rd years, just to see like what we've learned and how to apply it in an effective way.
Yeah, and again, a network of friendships with Nikhil and Jacqueline and Fiona, right? You remember those times that you're challenged in a team, right? And it's a voluntary, it's an opt-in challenge. You didn't have to do this, and not to say that, oh, it's better that we had COVID. That's not the point. The point is, look what James did. Right? What are each of us going to do in management scenarios for the rest of our career? We're going to be faced with a goal and constraints. And within that, we're going to make the most informed business decisions we can. And we're going to ask for help and build a team and aim and shoot and miss and reset and re-aim and reshoot and miss and then reset and re-aim and hit. So I just, I just want to underlining a lot, but right, it's you didn't let your MBA die on the vine.
Mm-hmm.
You found ways to keep going, and it didn't look like year 1. I mean, the year 1 and 2 pictures are different. Now we're looking at 2-dimensional. Well, actually, but you guys are in front of the steps there. That's a real 3D picture. But
that was a so we took that picture like pre-COVID. And so Gilead was actually doing a press release on the case competition, okay. And so they asked for a photo, and that was the photo that we supplied. So it wasn't the actual competition; it was pre-COVID. The actual competition was virtual. It's this picture up here where we posed when we won. We mean business.
The hand on chin.
Yeah.
Wow, we just took first because we are awesome. Yes.
We beat USC and Berkeley. I think they placed 2 and 3.
Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. Very good. The other 27 teams from wherever, that's fine. But yeah, got to get in front of Berkeley and USC.
There you go.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thanks so much. I think that's all the fun pictures I have. I'm sure there's a lot more, but
well, anything about, so, you chose to leave Accenture, you chose to stop doing consulting, which is what a lot of people want to begin to do. That happened in the mix of all of this. Did you use on-campus recruiting, or how did you get to Flatiron Health?
Yeah, so I applied directly. Not to say on-campus recruiting is not helpful and doesn't have the opportunities, but I applied offline. It was an opportunity that came up, and it was something that I was interested in. I applied offline, but I did utilize our career coaches in terms of interview preparation, negotiation, how you should approach an interview. So I use a bunch of those sort of career services throughout the process. And they were obviously extremely helpful, and I was able to negotiate my offer and receive a better counter offer and all that stuff. And so the career coaches definitely every step of the way have been amazing. And it's not just year 3, right? It's every single year, right? Because, I think I came in as a career explorer, knowing that, I don't want to do consulting forever. And so I had the opportunity to talk to them my first year about different opportunities. How should I be thinking about career choices and exploring? Year 2 was, okay, well, I'm really close to senior manager at Accenture. Maybe I'll be a career enhancer. How do I have a conversation with career coaches, right? And then year 3, I ended up being a switcher, and you had those conversations. And so every year I had sort of a different career track, and I think I landed where I needed to land. And it's an amazing opportunity. And one of the things that they recognized was me being a sort of a MBA graduate and trusting all the things I've learned to be able to be successful in this role. And so again, signed the offer on Friday, and I can't wait to sort of begin there and start a new journey with the company. So super happy about it.
Are your mother and father, are they still in New York?
No, not yet, but they're still in New York. They're still in New York.
So you get to be a little closer to family, and anytime you come to LA, you got people. You'll never, I love the FEMBA Airbnb. You never have to pay for a room again. You got people all over the world, but especially in Southern California. So I like that analysis of, walked in the door as an explorer, but I was actually in a good way at Accenture for a promotion there. So middle year was maybe, well, I'll be an enhancer and just go ahead and do that. And then I'm leaving where I should leave, which is as a switcher into something new. Build your own adventure. This is how James did it. Yeah. And you did it successfully. Yeah. I just remember talking to you last year when we were setting up the FEMBA 45s. And I was like, oh, this will be cool. See what, I just recognized you as a proactive person. So I had no idea where it was going to go, but it was curiosity, interest to me. Like, let's see what he puts together. Good deal. Well, anything else about looking forward to what about getting ready for your commencement speech? Well, we'll air this. We'll be after that, but is that a little nerve-wracking? Are you excited, or you feel good about it?
I'm super excited, super honored to have been selected. And I had a speech drafted, and I think we had to submit it, and they chose mine, and I'm making updates to it. I think it's important to deliver a message that's lasting, but I want to be authentic in terms of my message and bring my level of energy. And I think everyone has like different levels of different message they want to deliver, or different way they want to inspire people. But I want to be sort of authentic to myself, and bring energy and say the things that I believe is consistent with how I would have conversations, whether it's me talking to 200 people or me talking to you one-on-one. But super excited. But yeah, definitely nerve-wracking. And I think especially because our keynote speaker won't be live, I will be the last live address for a lot of my classmates that are probably never returning to an academic institution. And they'll have to live with whatever I say until their kids graduate. And so that realization doesn't put pressure, doesn't make it nerve-wracking, but it makes it a little bit more exciting. But I want to get the messaging right. And I, again, honored to have been in this position, and super excited to kind of stand in front of my classmates and just kind of share my thoughts with them. And hopefully they take something away.
Well, and congratulations on being chosen. It's kind of a neat process that we have, or unique to my experience. It seemed like it was always the valedictorian or something, but here we have a cultural norm, which is people raise their hand and suggest, hey, I'd like to give a commencement address, and actually submit a commencement address.
Yeah.
And then there's a committee, and there's a selection, and your story and your character as the person to tell the story was selected. And it's a neat crowdsourcing pathway towards who gets to share in that moment. And you've shared so many moments in your picture collages. So again, one more thing for the students who follow in your footsteps to aim at. Well, maybe I'll be commencement speaker my year, right? Last year,
anything is possible. I mean, honestly, I never thought I'd be in like starting the program, never thought I'd be in a position where like 3 years later, I'm going to stand in front and give a commencement speech, right? Like I never had anyone in my personal network do that before. And so it's definitely new, right? But it's one of those things where if you're going to go and join a program and shoot your shot, like shoot as far as you can. And to me, like commencement speech, again, never thought I do this, and here I am. And so anything is possible. You just got to put yourself out there and just try, right? It's as simple as that.
I love it. I love it. Right. Yeah. Aim for the stars, even when we miss. Yeah. We still, it's, our trajectory is possibly more important than our position, because life goes up and down. Our position will change, but we can always keep aiming to the best version. Right. And if you're listening to James and you're getting a little imposter syndrome, stop that. Right. It's not, it's me versus me yesterday. That's the only game worth playing. Each of us has a chance to develop into our own potential. And, I'm not putting James in front of you. Well, I didn't put him in front of you. His classmates did, but the intention is not to disempower anybody, because there will only ever be one commencement speaker each year. That's just a thing. But each of us has a chance to use graduate school as a laboratory. Like you hear his journey career-wise. Oh, I'm going to explore. Oh, I'm going to enhance. Oh, now here I am at the finish line as a switcher, a bi-coastal back to the coast I started on. I'll be nearer to my family, but I'm going to miss LA. I mean, you've had a good LA run. You got some great pictures to show for it. You got your signed flag, right? You've written your adventure, and you've written it well. And I just, the point of sharing James' story so deeply is to inspire you to write your own narrative and make your adventure. Ooh, I know a gala that I could take my classmates to, and I have access to a boat, and let's go to Oktoberfest, whatever it's going to be. Carnival. I don't know. Has a FEMBA group ever gone to Carnival in Brazil?
Yacht week,
it's got, exactly. Yacht week. Let's do it. Take the UCLA flag, have fun. Like let the adventure be yours, and put your own fingerprint on your journey, with James as an inspiration in all of these spotlights this year. So, all right. Well, you ready for the lightning round?
Let's do it.
All right. All right. So at this point, at graduation, a couple weeks away, how do you gauge the ROI of this investment?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the easy and simple way out would look at the financials, right? Like, yeah, in the short term, maybe you're going to take a little bit of a deficit, but I think it's important to sort of look more long term and think about all those intangibles that how do you put a number on? And for me, like the way that I gauge ROI and how I will gauge ROI, long term is who's going to pick up the phone when I call them, right? And I think, when you come into this program, your ROI begins the second that you invest in other people, in my opinion. Because I think collectively, when you're able to help others sort of reach their goal and they're able to invest in you to reach your goal, years down the line, that's going to pay dividends the most, where you're able to pick up that call and they're going to remember, oh yeah, I wanted to be a consultant, and you're able to have a 10-minute phone call with me and talk me into it, or connect me to somebody, right? When you're investing in other people, that pays dividends down the line. And I think for me, the way that I measure value is, again, who's going to pick up who's going to pick up the phone when I call them. And you can't put a dollar value on that. And I think when you're able to invest in each other collectively, everyone's ROI goes up, right? And so that's the way that I would look at it. Yeah, you're going to take a deficit, but I think it's an investment that's going to pay dividends long term and worth every penny.
Thank you.
Or every Dogecoin, however you want to.
Whatever.
However people are paying for stuff.
Every Dogecoin, wherever you have reposited your value. Awesome. Next question. What are you most proud of about the class of 2021?
I'm most proud of people stepping up. And COVID hit in the middle of our second year. The 2020s were, a lot of them already, graduated or are going to graduate in a couple of weeks. The 2022s were sort of in core and haven't really experienced the whole first year. And so I'm very proud of how leaders within our class here really stepped up and to engage faculty, the program, and to ensure that we still have a positive experience, not only for our class, but for the 2022s and the incoming 2023s. It really takes leaders to lead. And I'm really proud of a lot of individuals in our class that really took that and really ran with it. I mean, it was something that none of us were expecting. But you really kind of look at it now in terms of like how we reacted to it and how we kind of came out better because of it. And I'm super proud of my class here for having, taken the bull by its horn and really guided the program through a lot of this, in my opinion. I mean, we had others from other class years contribute as well, but I think because we're sort of in that middle second year, we had the experience and we had a lot at stake, and a lot of people stepped up to kind of make it the best that we possibly could. And I'm super proud of my class for doing that. And it's an experience that's going to be unique to hopefully never again, right, in terms of a pandemic, but definitely unique in terms of what we've been able to do. So
yeah, hopefully unique. Yeah, and you
hopefully
did step up. Thank you. What are you most looking forward to post-COVID?
Traveling again and creating more memories with friends, family, being able to do things in groups again. I think that's something that's sort of where I thrive and where I get energy from. And it's just being in group settings and creating new memories that we talk about, a year from now, 2 years from now. That's something that I missed. And obviously, as you saw through a lot of these pictures, we had a lot of, fun, unique moments. And I'm looking forward to being able to go to a Rams and Chiefs game again, and whether it be hopefully the Knicks in the final at Madison Square Garden, who knows? But being able to kind of go through those and create memories that last.
Awesome. What do you most want to keep? What's something new that COVID has created that you want to keep?
Other than the antibodies, I would say as a community, a sense of caring. I think I think a lot of things kind of came to the forefront. That we as a nation, as multiple different communities, especially the AAPI community, which I'm a part of, had to deal with, and just seeing a lot of new faces step up across the board, and that sense of caring, whether it be for our health frontline workers, whether it be for small businesses, whether it be for the African American community, the AAPI community. A lot of these people that just kind of recognize these issues now are learning about it, talking about it. I think that's something that COVID accelerated, brought light to, and that's something I definitely want to kind of keep going forward, 100%. And conversations that we still need, we're not there yet, but conversations that still need to happen, and progress that still needs to be made in that space. But that sense of caring, and I mean, obviously you can see there's a lot of bad news going on in the world and whatever, but I think there's more people that care than there are that don't. And I think we need to continue extending that sort of level of care and compassion.
Thank you. That's great. I like caring. Just a great answer. Totally different topic. What's a favorite productivity hack? What's something that's working for you right now?
Oh yeah, there's a couple things. I think there's a lot that goes on in the program. I think it's just setting up time for personal space, and whether that's blocking off your calendar for you time, but figuring out how to refresh yourself. I think you're going to be the most productive when you feel refreshed, when you felt like you had the time for like personal reflection and all that stuff. And then from there, you feel like you have that time, you're able to kind of tackle all these other things, right? And having a list of things that you could kind of check off and progress, but really embracing that personal time. And I mean, obviously we had a lot of that during COVID, but I think it's important to still recognize being able to kind of secure your mental space will lead you to be more productive. And there's going to be a lot that's going to be thrown at you throughout this program, and it can be intimidating. So it's sometimes good to take a step back, be okay to check out, and then check back in whenever you're ready.
Thank you. So this year's entering class, the class of 24, but this could be a message for them or classes beyond that. You know, words of, if you could say anything to an entering class that you think would serve them well, what would you want them to know?
Yeah, I think, you know, in a way, we're all crazy for sort of choosing this path of of working full time, going to school part time, and then adding on all these extracurriculars. But just know that you chose this path because whether you know or not, like you're built for this, you know,
Hmm.
and not being afraid of the challenge, understanding it, yeah, it's going to be difficult, but you know, join the program, be authentic, be open-minded, lean on each other when you can, allow others to lean on you. And I think what you're going to see is, yeah, you're going to be able to take care of all the academics, right? Like you got accepted to this program because we know you could handle that workload, right? But it's like all the other intangibles that comes along with the MBA that you need to think about and be open-minded to as well, because that's where the new experience is really going to come, and it's going to enhance not only your professional but your personal life as well.
Awesome. I love it. That's good words for everybody. Okay, your class manager, she's been here a long time. She was here when I got here. She's always been a colleague. I've never worked a day at UCLA without Teri Szabo as a colleague. So Teri Szabo is about to retire. So any words of appreciation for Teri upon her retirement?
Yeah, first of all, Teri, congratulations. I know how hard you work, and I know how much you care. And I know a lot of people don't really see what you do sort of behind closed doors. And I know we've had many meetings, and I know you genuinely care. And I know all you ever wanted was sort of what's best for the students and creating a positive experience for us. And I think you've excelled at your job. And I think a lot of students wouldn't have had the experience without your hard work and dedication. And so congratulations for retiring, well deserved, and I hope nothing but the best for you. And I definitely hope you stay in touch, because I think you've been an important part of my experience at the program, and being able to work with you for the last 3 years has been incredible. So thank you.
Oh, thank you on behalf of Teri. She's great. We
He's
all
amazing.
the best.
Yeah.
Okay, something completely different. Harry Potter, any character, male or female, good or evil, who would you be and why?
Ooh, this is a really good one. Probably Harry Potter, I guess. I mean, it's an easy answer. But I just kind of see myself just, you know, just being in the middle of things, right? Like getting into trouble.
You're the middle kid.
Yeah. Solving problems, you know, being independent, being a loner, right? Like me, I didn't run away from home, but in a way I moved to Los Angeles, didn't know anybody, found friends, found sort of caught my stride, and just being the connector and problem solver, getting in trouble, all those things. I would say I don't have special powers, but
No parcel tongue.
yeah,
Excellent.
Harry Potter,
Yeah.
sticking with it.
And be, you know, let's all be the hero of our own journey, right?
Exactly.
It's all good. Okay, so that was the individual. Then at the level of section, right? So all day Saturday section. So which house? You know, Gryffindor, Ravenclaw, Hufflepuff, Slytherin. What was the dominant zeitgeist of your section if you had to pick a house from Harry Potter?
Slytherin for sure, I think.
I've been waiting.
For
Somebody had to go Slytherin. Yes.
for sure. I think there's a cast of characters in this section, and we are all great individually, but we're all dangerous collectively. I guess we'll keep it as that at that. And Slytherin is definitely how I would classify my section.
Own it.
All the right reasons.
Own it for all the right reasons. That's right. Great wizards from Slytherin. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. I love it. Own it. All right. Last 3 questions. So I got my little mascots up here, my little friends. So my brother, shout out to my brother. He said, well, maybe people could do like a bear hug. They could send an acknowledgement. So you get 3 Bruin Bear Hugs, faculty, friend, and family. So if you could send a Bruin Bear Hug to a faculty member, who would you want to acknowledge?
Oh, Teri, of course.
Okay.
She's done so much, just again behind closed doors. You know, the fact that she's retiring, and how much she's meant to me the last 3 years, the conversations that we've had and the compassion that she has for the program, she deserves it. Give her the biggest Bruin hug of all.
Awesome. All right, Teri gets one. So you get two. So that was a, an administrative leader. How about a teaching faculty?
Oh, teaching faculty.
Oh, it's all good. Yeah, let me just, who would you give a bear hug to, for one of your teachers?
One of my teachers, I would say, one of the professors that has really inspired me a lot is probably Teri Kramer. Just the way that he forces you to think about business in a different lens and dissect it, and the amount of rigor he imposes and the challenge that allows you to sort of think about things differently in a very positive way that will help you accelerate in your career and understand trends, industry, how to look at it from a business landscape. I think that just regardless of the subject that he teaches, the way that he teaches it, the way that he teaches you to think, that's what you want out of an MBA program. And so I would give a big Bruin hug to him. Just the way that he puts it all together and allows you to sort of adapt that sort of framework in any sort of situation. It's a masterpiece.
Thank you. We will share this with Professor Kramer, and it will be a wonderful acknowledgement. Thank you for that. All right, this one may be hard for you. So a friend, is that even possible? You of knowing everybody, if you wanted to send a bear hug to a friend pre-FEMBA or during FEMBA who really was instrumental in you getting to this milestone, who would you want to send a bear hug to?
During FEMBA, probably Meghan Roberts. I would say, especially this year, I know she was our FEMBA Council president. I haven't seen her since the last time we served on FEMBA Council in our second year, but I think she's been instrumental to sort of where we are today, and the amount of value that she added. And again, it's all closed door conversations of what can we do to better the program, and no one sees the struggles, the meetings, and the challenges that we have. A lot of students only see sort of the end result in terms of like what that output is, but a lot goes into it. And I know how much work she's put, how much care she's put into the program, and probably a lot of sleepless nights and conversations that her and I have in terms of like, how can we steer the ship? And she was sort of at the helm, and she's done a great job. And, Meghan says it best. She wants to make sure that she leaves the program better than the way that she found it. And I could 100% agree that she has, and I'm sure a lot of people would as well. And but a lot of people don't see the work that's done in behind closed curtains, and she's definitely led the charge, and we wouldn't be where we are today as a student body without sort of her leadership. So 100% Meghan.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. And the last one, who is a family member that you would like to send a bear hug to?
Probably my mom. I mean, I think she's been, supportive of anything that I've ever done, regardless if she gets it or not. But just, she's been so important throughout all the different milestones of my career. And, I'm excited to kind of move back home closer to her, and just being able to spend more quality time with her. But, over the last 3 years, it's few and far in between, right? And I think, COVID has given me a larger appreciation for, the close family and friends, but definitely one that I would love to kind of give a big hug to. So I'm a mama's boy.
Hey, it takes one to know one. I am also. Well played. Thank you, sir. All right. Well, we're coming to the end of this. I want the last words to be yours. Anything you'd like to say just to kind of bring us to the finish line?
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Dylan. You and your team, I know how, again, closed doors, right? Like meetings that happen on the side. I know how tirelessly your team works to put on these engaging events with students. And I know you guys do an excellent job in terms of the interview, the production, things that people don't see. And so I definitely want to give you guys a huge sort of Bruin hug and shout out for all that you guys do for the program. For students that are interested in Anderson, I think it is an amazing journey, and one that is rewarding in so many different ways. For me, it's, to say that it changed my life would be a little bit dramatic, but it's definitely had a very positive experience in terms of how I look at life, not only professionally, but personally as well. And so if you're open, you're authentic, you're willing to lead, you're willing to follow, you're willing to work with others, you're willing to share success and, drive change and think fearlessly, this is the perfect place for you. In addition, it's in Los Angeles, a winning city, winning culture, and you can have a lot of fun doing it, so that's all I'll have to say.
Well, you've been generous in telling your story, and thank you for collecting such a fun cascade of pictures to really make it real. For those of you who listened to the long version, the whole thing, you made it to the finish line. For those of you who watched extracts, it's all good. James is one of the 6 people who was nominated by the class of 2021 that collectively we thought, hey, we of the class of 2021 think the world should hear these 6 exemplars of what kind of people we were. And you're the chronologically last person for me to interview. So, we're going to release these this summer, sort of around your graduation and beyond, and use these to welcome our entering class of 2024. And then they'll be on the website, and they'll be around for generations to come. But on behalf of Samantha Holland, Darcy Hitt, Drew Mandenach, Raymond Murata, and myself, the 5-person drive time team, we wouldn't have anything to share if we didn't have great content. And, thank you, James, and all of the other spotlights, Arun and Maxine and Ben and Meghan and Derek. I don't know that anybody would listen to all 6, but if they did, they'd probably have a totally amazing FEMBA journey, because all 6 of you came at the program with different starting points and different end goals and different approaches. A really diverse group of human beings. You're the only one who has you and Meghan, I guess, have the more traditional jobs coming into the program. We have dancers and professional athletes. I love.
Ben was in a movie. I don't know if he shared that, but if he didn't, I'm gonna put it out there.
We got actors, it's, no, he didn't. It's getting FEMBAs to brag about themselves is the hardest thing. You guys are so flipping amazing, and you just don't brag. No, he forgot to mention he was in it. He just kind of said, well, I was an actor. So, okay. Do you know the name of the movie? No.
I think it was Area 51.
Okay, good. Well, we got to figure that out and put it in the show notes. Oh, that's awesome. So, it's humbling to work at UCLA. The big picture you said Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and John Wooden, and, just the list goes on and on and on. And then specifically, right? Like, you just don't know who's in class with you. And if you get to know these people, they're not just people, they're really neat people. They're smart, and they're not scared of risk. And, they got big commitments and big hopes and big dreams. And, so I've just really been impacted by last year with 2020. We were just trying this out. So to get to do this a second year, I love the stories last year with Sophie and Dominique and everybody, but hearing you 6 now and knowing that you really did have 5 impacted quarters of COVID, and you're still coming out with great results and smiles on your faces and lifetime friendships. It just makes me want to go to work every day. So, I said the last words were yours. That was total lie. Such a liar. I'd be in Slytherin too. Look at me. So anyway,
well, you're more than welcome to join us. Well, we would love to have you.
Well, thank you. I am by extension part of your class, just by extension. And it's awesome to just watch the light from your class as you've done this thing. So everybody who's listened to James, this is James Feng, newly, since last Friday, the ink is still wet with Flatiron Health, senior product manager, but possibly more important than that, a real tremendous friend and tremendous leader in Section 2 and the class of 2021 and through FEMBA Council to all 3 years of our current FEMBA experience. So, James, it's been an honor to get to hear your story. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much as well.